So generally, operations management is summarily referred to as the design, the management and improvement of the combined elements that support the production of goods and services that an organization seeks to sell, generally. And this definition suffices for every organization, whether they earn, whether the value they sell, they trade for money, is a service or a product. Operations management refers to that combination of systems that are designed, that are coordinated to support the production of the services or goods that the organization trades for money. And generally, every organization centers their operation around financial and human resources that are coordinated towards the production and delivery of those products or services, which means on its own, operations management forms the backbone. It is the vehicle with which products and services are delivered to the customers that every organization serves. That makes it extremely critical to the success of that organization. Vividly, from the standardized point of view, that is operations management. And now, it's very common for some organizations to not clearly call out the term operations in their operations, because either they haven't clearly outlined that aspect of their operations, which can be termed operation, or they haven't identified staff whose core responsibilities is operations management. But be as it may, every organization has an operations function, whether or not it's referred to as such, and whether or not they sell products or services, or just seek value for money, as we'll see subsequently. So to do this, to be able to sell products and services or to trade them off for value, organizations must have access to the resources that qualify as ingredients, raw materials to produce those services or products, and to be able to convert those raw materials into the outputs, which are services or products, and deliver them to the intended users, the target clients that the organization has defined as the end users of their product or service. And so therefore, the term operations covers every aspect that is required to create and deliver the value that an organization trades for money. Summarily, every activity, every coordination or transformation of a resource from its elementary stage that helps that resource to become the kind, the form, and the nature to gain that value that customers will appreciate is called operations management. So now within very large organizations, and we're looking at giant corporations or multinationals in the most cases, there are usually people that are assigned core responsibility to organize or to coordinate the company's operations or the organization's operations. The portfolio for operations management is handed to them, and they are referred to as operations staff. That's their responsibility, to ensure that whatever that organization trades for money is handled by an individual that directs the procurement, the transformation, and the delivery of the resources that have been transformed to products or services that bring in income, that create the income stream for that organization. And so it's a very important functional area because the crucial role in determining how well the organization satisfies its customers is domiciled in the portfolio handled by the operations executive or the operations officer or the operations staff, referred to variously in various organizations. Now, for private sector companies, the mission of the operations functions is generally qualified in terms of the revenue that they bring, the profits that they make, the amount of growth that they're able to deliver, the value, the worth of that which they're able to sell and grow and compete with others in the same practice, on the one hand, while in public organizations, usually, and civil society organizations, this is expressed usually in the form of the impact that is created, the value, the achievement of the objective for which that was created, means providing value for money, not necessarily trading it for cash and profit, but towards satisfying a social imperative for which that product or service is destined for. Now, these are three cases: public organizations, private organizations, and then civil society organizations. The private organization, you may look at something like Guinness Cameroon SA, which looks forward to producing products, basically brewery products, distributed to the world and make profits for its owners and the people that work for it. For a public organization, let's look at something very close: the Cameroon Development Corporation, the CDC. It's an agribusiness owned by the government of Cameroon. The essence is to ensure that food security becomes reliable, stable, and that food is available and affordable for people resident within the national territory. That's why the government of Cameroon can bring in funds, invest it into the CDC, and not expect profit, but expect that they're able to produce food that can satisfy people resident within the national borders. Now, there is an element of sales and profit making in a lower dimension, but that only goes to justify the expenses that are incurred in the business of delivering value for money, ensuring food security. Civil society organizations, nowadays, there are quite many in the country, especially with the advent of the socio-political crisis rocking the Northwest and the Southwest regions. You can name them. Their mission is to provide intervention for people that need it but can't afford it. They do not sell products nor services. Their performance by the operations they deliver are measured by the impact they create based on how much money is invested in these. Now, in your mind, just so that you flow with the conversation, imagine the services or products that are created and traded off in the following organizations: Société de Transformation Industrielle Camerounaise, SOTICAM SA, what the common man would refer to as Dole. Their key product is Dole yogurt. The company name is SOTICAM. What do they produce? What do they sell? How do they satisfy their customers? Hilton Hotel in Cameroon. Afriland First Bank, Cameroon, Buka Voyage SA, Cameroon, and the University of Chad. Variously, what do these organizations produce and trade off? How do they satisfy their customers? What element of operations quantifies their success? How is their success qualified? Variously in your mind. Do these organizations variously have operations carved out in their practices? Can operations be clearly defined in their practices? What can be qualified as operations within these organizations? Just play that in your mind while we proceed. If operations management is core to the success for every organization, it means operations management defines the quality in product and service delivery for that organization. Because the success of every organization, we've already agreed, is measured by the level of profit they make or the value they create for money. Summarily put, the level of profit they make or the value they create for money with the services or products that they deliver. Now, if operations management leads to the production of those services and products, it means that for the customers to continue to patronize that organization, there must be an assurance, a maintenance of quality in product and service delivery, and it must be consistent. The service that the client gets from consuming a product or service from that organization today should not be different from what they would get next week or next month or next year. If organization A delivers that product and boasts of it, or client A buys that product or service today, if client B buys the same product tomorrow or next week or next month, there shouldn't be any difference in what that product serves them for. That is measured in what is commonly referred to as in operations as quality. How do organizations ensure this, and what in essence is quality? Usually that's a huge dilemma for most businesses, ensuring continuous quality delivery in product and services. So what is the way forward? How do organizations consistently deliver quality? How do organizations consistently ensure that their clients receive the same nature of quality delivered over time in the services or products that they consume? At this point, I'll like a participation in this exercise for a minute or two. You'll find on the screen 9 dots. 9 dots. And the task is to connect these 9 dots with 4 straight lines without lifting your hand. To connect these 9 dots with 4 straight lines without lifting your hand. We want to define quality. This exercise helps. For the next minute or two, if any of the participants herein figures out how you connect these 9 dots with straight lines, with 4 straight lines, without lifting your hand, without lifting the pen you're drawing them with, let's see. You may be able to show that on the screen. You just need to indicate straight lines, 4 straight lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's more than 4 lines. That's more than 4 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's actually 6 lines. What we have on the screen is 6 lines. We have on the screen is 6 lines. The 6 lines. Any other attempt? One dot is left out. One dot hasn't been covered. It's left out. One dot is left out. Oops, no. One dot is left out. So the instruction is simple. Connect the 4 dots. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 lines without lifting the pen, but 1 dot is left out still. You have to connect them all. You have to connect them all. So let me see if everyone can see this. Can everyone see that?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. So are those 4 lines? Are all the dots connected? Yes, they're all connected. Now, the intention, the objective was to connect the 9 dots with 4 straight lines without lifting the pen. And if you try staying within the points themselves to connect them, there's absolutely
Please come closer.
There's absolutely no means by which you'll be able to do this if you stay on the points themselves. There's absolutely no means by which that could be done if you stayed on the points themselves. But if you went off the point to target the next point, if you started here and went right down past this point and then took the other points and went further up, cover these ones, and then take the remainder, you'll definitely get that. Exactly. Now, what was the challenge? What was the problem? What was the difficulty why we couldn't easily get those? It's because generally, the person that has the task to connect these 9 points looks at what already exists. You're focused on those 9 points. You have the instructions at the back of your mind to connect them without lifting the pen, but no one told you to move a little out of the points. The instructions didn't stop you from doing that. All you needed was 4 straight lines. Now, this is a major challenge in companies, in organizations, in businesses. Everyone wants a product that works, that satisfies or even exceeds customer expectations. Everyone knows what quality products or services are. Everyone wants to get there. But how do you get there? Imitating what everyone else does to get quality products and services is usually the reason why lots of businesses die out on that direction. Because organization A uses this route and procedure to achieve quality products, organization B that sets up a year later or a month later wants to do exactly that. In entrepreneurship, the solution is to think out of the box. You can't connect the 9 dots with 4 points, staying within the box. You'll have to get off it literally. And when you do that, you find it extremely easy to connect those dots. And maintaining quality products and services has been proven to be impossible if you do not take the extra step of imagining the measures you must employ to get off the challenges that regular business management practices can offer you. You have to think out of the box, out of the ordinary, out of the usual, to import practices that may work for your business, even if they are not practiced by every other business in your industry or in your sector or in your geographical location. That's how you achieve quality, because that can be defined with respect to the business, with respect to the product, with respect to the services that you deliver to the people you serve. What exactly then is quality? The International Standards Organization, the ISO, commonly referred to as ISO, defines quality as the totality of the elements, that's the features and characteristics of a product or service that cause it to develop the ability to satisfy the needs that the client has either stated or implied that they expect from that product or from that service. The combination of the features, the characteristics, the nature of a product or a service that qualifies it to satisfy customers' implied or expressed needs. In more simple terms, you can say that a product or a service has good quality if it complies with the requirements specified by the client. Can every organization produce quality goods and services for its target clients? The answer is yes. We are going to explore how that's supposed to be done. And now someone is wondering, but this lecture is on standard operating procedures. Why is this guy jumping into it through quality? Quality has usually been defined also as the delivery of reliable value within a time frame under conditions that have been agreed by the client and the originator of that product or service. It means also there is that dimension of quality that plays with constraints of time and cost and aftercare, which most producers of goods and services have defined as assurance. For a period of time after we sell you this product or service, you can count on its being able to satisfy your expected or agreed needs. If within that period, for this price that you have paid, you are faced with any problems, then we take responsibility for servicing it to your satisfaction. That's an aspect of value. That's a definition of value, of quality that the product or service is supposed to offer you. And there are 3 aspects of quality that we're going to consider. quality management, quality assurance, and quality control. Quality management refers to the combination of all the activities that are directed towards producing goods and services that satisfy clients from that organization. It's the array of activities that ensure that goods and services are produced that meet or exceed client expectations. Now, to compute quality management understanding, the management or leadership of that organization that seeks to conduct quality management must state expressly what they consider as objectives and a policy that seeks to deliver quality across the business of that organization. Therefore, a statement of objectives and policy must be made by the people that are responsible for making key decisions within the organization. Now, this statement also defines the responsibilities within the organization on how this quality can be delivered and how the system to deliver that quality should be managed effectively. Nowadays, organizations have moved beyond the delivery of quality services and products by the basic definition which we've shared a minute ago, to embrace the entire concept of total quality management, TQM. Besides ensuring that products and services are produced that meet customer expectations, total quality management addresses concepts, aspects beyond what the customer sees in the product or services that they consume. This includes the style of leadership within the organization. That's the kind of culture that is created by management, sustained and experienced by the internal customers, being the employees, and now appraised by the external customers, that's the consumers of the products and services. That also includes ethics of work, the legal, fiscal, and social imperatives of the business itself. In this domain, E.W. Deming and Andrew Sheward are two very distinguished business consultants who studied, researched on in this topic and sought to answer the question of how organizations can produce goods and services that meet or exceed customer expectations, be extremely profitable right at the top, and conduct businesses in a way that provides legal compliance, high-level profitability, and a strong regard for the environment and the people that work for the business. If you do a little study, E.W. Deming was the one who was hired by the Japanese government after the Second World War to direct the rebuilding of the economy of that country. And that's why even till date, anyone who has been in the practice of business and seeks quality will in one way or the other make reference to or adopt the learning style of quality production from the Japanese. Whether it's the Kanban or the Kaizen approach, the Japanese have exceeded customer expectations, generally speaking, because they have adopted total quality management when the concept just proved to the business world that it answers the question of delivering quality and services, quality in services and products across domains. You may want to take note and do a little more research as entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs in the businesses where you work, and learn a little more on the works of Edward Deming and Andrew Sheward. Actually, Andrew Sheward was the mentor and trainer for Edward Deming, and they both did remarkable and keystone works on developing quality operations across industries. The second dimension of quality is quality assurance. In order to be able to manage quality effectively, the next level of it must be implied. That's quality assurance. Once again, our friends at the ISO define quality assurance as the planned and systematic actions that are needed to provide adequate confidence that a product or a process or a service will satisfy given quality requirements. Watch out how this differs from quality management. Here, the provision of confidence must be assured in the client. Whether or not the product has met quality, the client has to develop confidence in that product or process or service that they have in their hands. That's quality assurance. Therefore, the systematic actions that are geared towards ensuring that the customer develops the confidence in that product or in that process or in that service is referred to as quality assurance. And finally, the third dimension, quality control. ISO defines quality control as the techniques that are used to satisfy quality requirements, period. It means quality management can loosely encompass the quality management definition, quality assurance definition, and the quality control definition. And these three are simply a tool which is used to deliver goods and services that satisfy clients' expectations. Basically, it is used to eliminate errors from products and services so that by the time they end in the hands of the clients, they are free of errors, they have high level confidence in the products or services, and they are guaranteed that this product meets the intended use that they have for it. Despite this, despite quality management efforts in organizations, quality assurance, and quality control efforts, and despite the fact that a reasonable impact is made on customer retention through quality management practices, there are still a significant level of errors within organizations that lead to products or services that may not completely meet client expectations. Why is that so? How can organizations invest this much in quality control, quality assurance, and quality management? How can they be delivering products and services that very often meet clients' expectations, but yet inevitably end up with products and services that clients can criticize, that clients may not find fulfilling enough? How is that possible? Let's take a look at possible scenarios within an organization that almost every organization faces one time or the other, and ask ourselves whether quality can always be assured in those circumstances. One, employee or employment dynamics. Is the number of employees in every organization always the same, year in, year out? Definitely not. So what happens is that some employees leave the organizations and the new ones come on board. If there is an adopted practice, which we defined earlier as operations, that employee ABC conducted in the year 2020, and in 2021, employee BC are no longer there, employee A receives 2 new employees. Can those 2 new employees conduct operations in the same dimension as the 2 older ones that departed could conduct? Is this capable of impacting significantly on the quality of services and products that will be produced in the with the advent of the two new employees. Magnify these 2 employees into 20 employees, 200 employees, 1,000 employees. The way that changes can be severely magnified if the number of employee changes increases. And that's why in recent times, employee turnover has emerged as a reasonable measure of how well a company performs, to the extent that companies that have a high turnover of employees are considered not good to work with. They're considered unreliable in most cases, and they're considered to be producing products and qualities that may not easily generate customer confidence, quality assurance. The same holds for leave of absences. When employees take continuous absences, there is no way to assure that the employee that sits in for the one that is absent will be able to deliver the task that they would deliver in a manner that they did. Force majeure, for example, accidents, death of employees, sudden closures or suspensions or change of administrations or managements, even closures, amalgamations, expansions, etc., that warrant massive recruitment. Customer feedback and user experience with comments from customers that may or may not necessitate change in procedures and certain operations, technology changes and innovations, warranting the use or refining of equipment or tools that employees may not have been familiar with, competition from other actors in the sector that may cause a diversification or folding up or adoption of other tools and procedures, and human nature generally, being subjective to the individual conducting the operations. Now, for each of these scenarios, it is impossible, not just difficult, it's impossible to ensure that if at Soticam, our example, they produce Dole, yogurt in cups, sealed, of the transformation line today is no longer there next month or next year. A new employee comes equally trained. Maybe they were both trained at NSI, the National Advanced School for Food Processing in Gaundere. They were both trained there, both first-class students. But of course, because they are humans, their human nature makes certain decisions subjective to their thinking and judgment. Even quantifications for raw materials and the automated systems controls may cause differences in the nature of the product that they end up with. To the extent that the same consumer that buys Soticam Dole on a Monday at Rond-Point des Dos at Boulangerie Meno buys another cup of Dole at J4B Bakery in Mile 17 Boya 1 month after, and realizes that they taste a little different. That simple explanation can make, in that scenario, can make or break a company, can chase away all the customers that the company or an organization has spent millions and years investing on. How do companies ensure that this doesn't happen? How does a company ensure that if you service a client today by way of consulting, you service the same client next year, even if it's a different person, they may have the same user experience? How do you ensure that if you sell a product to a client today and sell it to another client in another location tomorrow, they will have a similar user experience? How do you ensure, for example, that the lectures that you deliver to students in a class today And the lectures that you deliver to students in the same class next year have the same meaning and impact, even if case studies, even if industry experiences change. How does that come into implementation? Dear friends, welcome to Standard Operating Procedures. A standard operating procedure is a written document composed of step-by-step instructions used to complete a routine operational task. And I dare say, this document must be co-developed in a participatory manner. It means the owner of the business or their representative at the top, the frontline technical staff that will be conducting the operations herein documented as a standard operating procedure, and the supervisory staff directly responsible for assuring quality of that service or that product. Immaterial of your industry, the industry in which you operate, immaterial of the products or services that you offer, immaterial of whether you conduct business for profit or non-profit, every organization uses SOPs to achieve efficiency, to ensure performance is uniform, to ensure quality control and regulatory compliance. The purpose, therefore, of SOPs, or standard operating procedures, is to carry out the same operations correctly, always, over time and space, in the same manner, and ensure reproducibility of the value that this company organization sells or measures out for money. Please remember this very importantly. The purpose of the SOPs is to make sure that the procedure which is conducted on Monday at Sotikam's factory in Douala is the same procedure that's conducted on Friday at their other factory in Marwa. And that the dole that is consumed in Mbalmayo on Sunday morning has the same quality as the one that is consumed in Akwaya on Wednesday evening. Summarily put, because this becomes a Bible in the life of the technician that conducts the operation, the SOP should be documented and distributed in a way that the employee that conducts that operation has access to it wherever and whenever. Digitized copies are usually preferred, but also adequately preserved hard copies are needed on the work premise. These organizations go for months, and we've seen how they go even for years without physical presence at the workplace, but they still conduct operations. You can already imagine how SOPs need to be distributed. Summarily, SOPs make a complex task easy. They make the task capable of being conducted in the same quality from employee to employee, from time to time, and from place to place in the same manner. There are two basic types of SOPs: the technical SOPs and management SOPs. The technical SOPs, they explain how a particular task is completed. And they are normally in the form of repeating work orders and conducting preventive maintenance, or they are also used for inspections. While management SOPs are usually designed to ensure that the technical SOPs are adequately developed and implemented and reviewed. It means management SOP in itself is an SOP that is used to ensure the effective implementation of another SOP that handles a core operational assignment. Now, it doesn't sound very sweet that there is an SOP to manage an SOP. But as technicians in the organizations where you work, as entrepreneurs, you find that not funny, because you find a very qualified technician to work as an accountant, for example, you still require another person to supervise the accountant. Why is that? Or you find a very experienced driver if you're a logistics company, but you still require a logistics officer to supervise drivers. I'm sure the answer is ringing right in your head. Now, other forms of SOPs can be descriptive of the task that they seek to handle, to describe. Management SOPs are fundamentally what we've explained. Methodic SOPs, you'll find the explanations by the side. SOPs for safety precautions, occupational health and safety at workplaces. SOPs for operating instruments, such as in laboratories. SOPs for analyzing methods, especially for research organizations. SOPs for preparation of products and processing. That's for mostly secondary industries, transformation of raw materials to various products. SOPs for packaging and warehousing operations, for procurement, for quality management, archiving and dealing with complaints from customers. This is usually at the customer services desks. SOPs for grievances. A lot of companies call it grievance procedures, and SOPs for reporting, guiding every employee on their reporting line and details on reporting. Now, generally, SOPs interface at all levels, delivering information in a manner that places everyone at the same level of understanding across team members in the organizations. They also put the owners of the business and the people that work for those business on a common platform. Everyone understands exactly what's to be done. Everyone understands levels of accountability. SOPs can be organized by departments or by functions or by assets. And however it is, SOPs are better thought of as technical or management SOPs, as earlier explained. Normally, the ISO recommends a continuous review of SOPs. Each time employees change, each time operations are adjusted, each time tools or equipment are changed, SOPs must be reviewed, without which the intended result of quality assurance for products and services may not be achieved all the time. And if it's not consistent, if it's not reproducible, then in itself, the organization's operations do not answer the questions or do not satisfy clients by their expressed or implied needs. Now, how are SOPs developed? We'll do this very vividly. And of course, you can always go back to the presentations. The first step is to plan. The organization that seeks to adopt SOPs, use and management must plan. First of all, you think of what you want to organize and standardize, what aspect of the operations you want to standardize, and what procedures would be involved. You would look at how the task is currently done. You know, what are the steps involved in achieving what you want to achieve with now standardized procedures? Why is it done the way it's currently done? And how the SOPs will improve on the process meanwhile. How are you going to measure the improvement? That's on the part of planning. And this planning isn't done by an individual sitting on their desk alone. Various stakeholders have to be involved. Senior management, frontline supervisors, and the technical staff that will be conducting the operations that's about to be standardized. A first draft will be made. An internal review will be allowed by employees across domains, even those out of the department or out of the core functional area where the SOP is going to be used. The essence is so that any areas of improvement that may be highlighted by employees across departments and ranks should not be ignored. Because of course, when a procedure is standardized, it becomes law within the organization. Now, after internal review, there will also be external review out of the team, like we mentioned, inclusive of people even away from the department that uses that SOP. The essence is so that you do not miss out on any area of improvement, and each step must be considered. When you review the works of E.W. Demings and Andrew Sheward, you would realize what is nowadays referred to as the PDCA cycle or the Sheward-Deming cycle. The approach in the Sheward-Deming cycle is in business innovations is that whatever innovation or change is to be adopted within an organization must follow at least 4 basic steps: planning, doing, checking, and implementation. PDCA, plan, do, check, and act. It's exactly that form of procedure that's being employed here. And when all these reviews are done, it's time to test the procedure. Someone with technical competence on the operations area implements that procedure, of course, with supervision. And the relevant feedback is gotten and the procedure is improved upon and revised as necessary. Once it is confirmed and the necessary errors are eliminated and the potholes have been eliminated, the procedure is finalized and posted. Then you have your standard operating procedure for this operation, for example. Let's take banking sector. Let's take the banking sector. If a basic standard operating procedure would be, for example, treating a check. The Afriland First Bank, for example, may have a standard operating procedure for how their teller attendants, their counter attendants, that's teller, should treat a check. The end result will be the same in check treatment, in EcoBank, in BSEC Bank, in UBA, etc., you name it, Standard Chartered. But the procedures may not be exactly the same. And because of the specific intricacies within the organization, SOPs for the same tax may differ from organization to organization. How this is done at Afriland First Bank, from the time a client brings in a check, the teller, the counter attendant receives it, blah, blah, blah. Or posted into some other account, etc., whatever the expected outcome is. That's written down step by step, so that if John, who is the teller attendant today at Afriland First Bank, is not available tomorrow, the client who brings a check today and brings another one tomorrow will be attended to in exactly the same way, and the same result will be expected. If this cannot be done, then customers cannot be satisfied continuously at Afriland First Bank, meaning that the services they will receive will only be subjective on the employee that attends to them. And no customer considers this good service. None at all. Immaterial of the industry, immaterial of the product or service. Now, once the SOP is finalized, training must be conducted to ensure that all those that make use of the SOP or all those that are involved in managing or supervising or implementing it are familiar with the procedure exactly as it was intended. The workers must be involved, revisions will be conducted, and it's advisable to use very clear and simplified language, no ambiguity. The SOPs will be posted in workplaces where it will be accessible by the people that have need for it, anytime, everywhere. Usually nowadays, a lot of companies ensure that all the employees that have rights of access or need to know have the SOPs in electronic format that they can carry around in their portable devices. How SOPs are prepared, we are looking at the minimum requirements. SOPs are also like memos internal, and every organization has a format for the development and distribution of their memos. In the minimum, the makeup of a standard operation procedure document should include one, that each page should have a header or a footer, mentioning at the minimum the following: the date that the SOP was approved, the version number, is it the first version or it was reviewed, etc., etc. What's the title? For example, I mentioned check treatment procedure. That's SOP at African First Bank on how they treat checks. The number of the SOP may be preferred with the category. Check treatment, for example, would be under operations. Other SOPs would be under administration, under would be under maybe technical services, others could be under maintenance, others could be under personnel management, such as recruitment procedure. That's a standard operating procedure for recruitment. What you do from the time a vacancy is determined by the line manager, how it is advertised by the hiring managers, how applications are received, what happens after applications are received until the time the new staff is onboarded. Those are examples. Number two, the first page and the title page at least should mention the following: the general information, including title, summary of contents, especially if that's not evident from the title. There are SOPs whose title may not completely describe what someone should expect in it. So there should be a brief description in its cover filing. Any related SOPs that complement this current SOP under discussion should be mentioned. Safety instructions in the implementation of that SOPs, or maybe equipment or tools that are supposed to be used while that particular task described in the SOP is being conducted. Name and signature of the person that generated the SOP, name of the person that authorized it or that's in charge of supervising it, and who is in charge of keeping or archiving that SOP. The necessary equipment, I already mentioned that. Clearness and lack of ambiguity, I already mentioned that. A criteria for control also should be included. And it's also recommended that a list of contents should be included, especially if the SOP exceeds one page. And an SOP that exceeds one page can already be considered as lengthy. And it's very common to find lengthy SOPs here and there from organization to organization. It's also recommended to include a list of references. How should the SOPs be administered, distributed, and implemented? You'll find that we've already discussed this vividly, but for emphasis, there should be initiative taking for the drafting. The document should be drafted, verified, should be authorized, should be implemented and put in use, should be copied variously and stored. Implementation should be checked, and it should be archived. Now, various means and approaches exist to developing SOPs across it goes. If there exists an SOP and a new procedure comes up, then the old SOP must be invalidated, must be withdrawn, and the new one takes its place. And in order that we are sure at any one point on the existence and effectiveness of an SOP, there should be archiving. There should be a reference point. Even if SOPs are distributed electronically, of course, nowadays, every organization does that, there should be a central storage system. And every employee should be able to know how they maneuver or peruse these central archives. The data which should be stored in such archives We've already mentioned quite some of them: the SOP number, version number, date of issue, expiry, etc. And the evolution of the SOPs. An SOP which is in its third review should reflect that this current copy is in its third review. For example, the challenges, opportunities, and perspectives for SOPs. It's so sweet imagining that hence your business may benefit from service and product quality improvement if SOPs are adopted. Just like every other practice, it's possible to fail even with SOPs. Why do they fail? A very common reason is that management determines that they need SOPs, they develop SOPs, they adopt the SOPs, but they fail to create a process, a system for them to succeed. We had already mentioned that SOPs must be participatory. The system must also be participatory in implementing them. Top-bottom approach never works in such cases. Just like performance improvement proposals, SOPs must be allowed improvement areas. And so management must ensure that the right environment is created, the right processes, that those SOPs succeed. Another reason why SOPs sometimes fail is when employees change jobs, management should remember that the new employees need training, not only on the technical specifications of their jobs, but also on the SOPs that they use to implement those jobs. A failure to adapt with continuous training and capacitation for employees can cause even the most well-intended SOPs to fail. If you have good SOPs and you lack the competent technical and managerial staff to deliver it across the roles, the SOPs are more likely to fail. If the access to the SOPs is difficult, use of it will be difficult, and therefore they are more likely to fail. If there is lack of training on the SOPs, on their rationale, it is more likely that they will fail. If the priorities of the companies are misplaced, for example, a lot of companies pay attention on selling, but they pay little attention on ensuring that what they are selling is of continuously assured quality. That's a misplaced priority. First, the company must be sure that the product is reproducible, is acceptable, and the quality is maintained. And then emphasis can be laid on selling it. Reversing those priorities can cause even the most well-intended SOPs to fail, and those areas have generally caused lots of businesses to run out of business by way of losing clients. Why do we need those SOPs? Summarily, these are the opportunities in perspective for the SOPs. Through SOPs, a positive change can be promoted within the organization. Everybody understands the procedures, everybody understands the level of responsibility, and everybody knows that they'll be held accountable because you cannot feign ignorance. The procedure is clear. This is what you do when you are handling this task. There is no explanation why you didn't handle it that way if you fail at it. So everybody changes towards responsibility, proactiveness. The SOPs, secondly, will help to produce reliable and consistent results, services, and products. We have already justified that. Employee training and management is enhanced through SOPs. Every single weakness is likely identified through SOPs because the procedures are so clearly highlighted, elaborated, and standardized that something that's out of the ordinary can easily be identified and the procedure reviewed to take care of that weakness. Safety performance will be increased because besides the procedure to conduct the task being very clear, the equipment, the tools, and the safety rules to conduct it safely are also elaborated in the SOPs. Recall, we have said that an SOP can't be complete if the necessary tools, equipment, and safety precautions to implement that task are not included in the procedure. By virtue of all the above, efficiency will be increased, customer service will be standardized, and the organization will be able to be compliant with the regulations in force, will win more partners and major customers. There are a lot of buyers and clients out there in the world that do not do business with organizations that do not have clearly elaborated procedures, that are not standardized, organizations that are not certified. And no organizations gains certification without adopted SOPs with respect to various, with respect to various procedures along the course of developing and delivering products and services. In conclusion, does your business need standard operating procedures? Why do they need them? Of course, now we are all familiar, a little too much maybe, more or less than what you expected. But bottom line, you have the basic understanding of what SOPs are, why they're relevant, and how you could use them. Does it benefit your organization if implemented? Does it hurt your organization if it isn't implemented, or if it's not implemented rightly? In the position of decision making in your organization, are you willing to make firm commitment, investment-wise, to standardize your operations? Do you see SOPs as the way to go for your organization to be competitive and continuously meet customer expectations, even when employee dynamics is high, even when employees keep coming and going? Do you see areas where your business would do better if you employed SOPs? You know, usually the reason why many employers or business owners are reluctant to adopt SOPs is because, of course, just like every innovation, it costs some money. Do you imagine that you spend more or less if you do not do SOPs? Usually, it's also the thing with investing in innovation areas. You may invest and make it big, but if you do not invest, it's definite that you're losing out. Having an extensive network of SOPs can help you eliminate disorganization from your business. Of course, you would improve operations and you gain more time and a lot more benefits. You will always have the ability for even fresh graduates or fresh hirers coming into your organization and delivering immediately the job. That doesn't happen by chance. And many organizations are not able to hire experienced professionals who may more likely join and start delivering immediately. Way to go is to standardize your procedures so that even fresh graduates can jump in and start delivering, because the procedures are clear, they are robust, they are reproducible, and they deliver. And once you see these working upon adopting SOP, you begin to wonder where the hell you were, not having adopted them already. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of this lecture on standard operating procedures. Thank you very much.
Wow. Man, that was a lot. That was so much. I think that my first comment is, guys, even you guys that followed it live, you will need to create time again and follow this again. Am I right? For those who are in class now.
That's right. That's right.
Good. Yes, I guess as much. A lot of insights and practical, and trust me, SOPs, you don't just get up one morning and you are doing it like you're doing guesswork. You need to learn. All right, so I have 3 questions, and then the participants can shoot with any question they have. If not, we'll end the session. My first question is, one thing that you definitely have worked with a couple of startups in Cameroon, and I'm sure one thing you will notice is that they don't have systems, or they normally ignore it. So what would you recommend startups to pay attention to when it comes to SOPs?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, Trevor. You are very right. I worked, I don't know if this may have been a blessing or a misfortune in the earlier parts of my career, but I worked a lot, even in the biggest company I've worked for, a multinational. It was also a startup. The Cameroon subsidiary was just starting up. I was amongst the first 5 employees at the time, and the organization grew up to have up to about 840 employees per time. And I had the opportunity to work in at least 4 out of 6 departments in management capacities. And your question strikes right at the heart, saying that if an organization as such, a multinational, heavily invested to the tune of billions of CFA, lacked standard operating procedures in key aspects, not completely though, in key aspects, it's just easy to conclude that you find that lacking in a lot of other organizations. Now, the lack of standard operating procedures have destroyed many companies. Let's start from the point where a business is at the stage of ideation. The entrepreneur develops every basic component of it. That's what happens. Very few entrepreneurs before now have even come to terms with the fact that they could meet a business consultant to do ideation and elaboration for them before launching and test management for a while. And so the entrepreneur will be burdened with this on their own, and they'll be looking at getting into the market real quick, because usually entrepreneurs do not have all the money to finance the test stages of their business. They're looking for investors, they're looking for early buyers, early clients, and even employees that will share in their vision and jump in as if it were theirs. You are already familiar with the statistics that up to about 80% of companies in Cameroon, of new businesses in Cameroon, startups, do not cross 2 years. And about 90% die out before their 5th year. That's not magic. It's not an assumption. It's based on statistics. If you study the history of those companies, you find out that a lot of them from onset did not have organized procedures. I wouldn't want to mention the businesses I've worked for, but in the last 13 years, I've had the opportunity to either be in the first years, in the founding years of at least 4 businesses, or started one myself. What has helped me in my direct experience in the business which I started, to, against all odds, despite turbulence, to be able to still have a grip on direction of the business, is because almost everything, key component of its operation, was written down. I'm assuming that this may not have been extremely detailed if I were not an early adopter of SOPs myself. And a lot of the businesses I've worked for has actually taken a lot of time for many actors across the board to adopt that concept. But once you do it, Joybert, you don't want to live without SOPs anymore. Once you understand them, once you implement them, and you find that your work is simplified several times over, you won't want to do anything without SOPs. In fact, right now, in any business that I work for, when I get in and I receive a job description, the first thing I do is I conduct mock SOPs for myself. For every job task, for every task in my job description I'm assigned, I develop an SOP. My supervisors don't need to even know this. And it has ended up that in most of the places I've worked, you know, the usual African thing, this guy can't be succeeding for nothing like this. He's probably using some sorcerer at some end. That's what happens. Now, that's what SOPs do for you. They turn you into a magic hand, and you get into an organization, you're a change maker, and people begin to wonder what happened. Not to say that SOPs alone do that magic for you. You'd have to work across every innovative core aspect of entrepreneurship. And whether or not you found a business, if you find yourself handling a key decision-making role in a business, you are at the interface between a business owner and someone just working for the business. I don't know whether I answered your question.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think you have touched the second part where my second question, where I was to ask, what would you recommend a young executive to do if they join an organization that has never developed an SOP? Like somebody that's just followed you right now, and they're like, okay, this is very important. So what would you suggest, like, as next steps for them?
All right. Also, in my experience, one or two organizations I've worked with have had a heavy inertia in adopting anything that adds even an extra franc on their cost head, because organizations more often than not always seek to beat down cost and maximize profit. But the smart business executive will look at where to spend money that would directly bring benefits, and not only look at where not to spend money. So if I were to advise anyone joining an organization that lacks standardized procedures, the first thing I will encourage you to do is, first of all, educate yourself thoroughly. What are SOPs? Why are they useful? How can they be developed? What are their weaknesses, and how can you salvage those weaknesses? First step. Once you master that, you can now confidently walk up to the decision makers in the organization and pitch your SOP concept to them. Having also an understanding on the core operations of the business gives you an added advantage over me, for example, who may be a consultant to develop SOPs in a firm. Not having worked there, I'll need to interview a couple of persons, do a ground visit maybe to the site to understand exactly. You already in the business will easily understand the challenges within the business. You will pitch the SOP concept to them and articulate ways in which they will directly benefit by implementing those SOPs, and highlight ways in which they are already losing by not doing it. Trust me, every organization without SOPs loses. You lose time, downtime, by having new employees taking a lot more time to adapt to procedures of work. You lose a lot of time by training new employees on things that the SOPs themselves may have given them first line training. You lose valuable customers that measure credibility and quality of products over and over again. You may lose key investors and partners, because nowadays angel investors and venture capitalists aren't just looking for businesses that work or that may be profitable. They're looking for businesses that present it to the organization's decision, having SOPs adopted or having you in charge of co-supervising the implementation. But that organization may never ever want to lose you, because the one that understands procedures has it all. It's very common for in entrepreneurship classes to hear experts tell you that it's a good thing to have a business idea, vision, but it's more important to have people that can join you drive that vision on the ground. But it's the most important thing is to have the procedures with which these people who are competent can join you, the vision bearer, to deliver this vision to the customers that can pay for it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. My last question, and then we can get any questions from the class. Are there any specific skills someone must have or develop to be effective in developing and implementing SOPs?
Okay, thank you very much. Let me just say no. There isn't a particular background that someone must come from to be able to be proficient in SOPs development. I advise people in class to research a little more on the works of Edward Deming and Andrew Shewart. Both were engineers, physicists, engineers, statisticians, turned business consultants. You can imagine the mix. Not that they left engineering or physics or statistics and became business consultants. They leveraged their background and specialty to innovate in this domain of quality and innovations and research deeply on standardizing procedures that will help deliver products and services that meet quality over time. Now, what you need is one, the basic understanding example on an S-checks. Rest assured, there are also SOPs that a media house, for example, Equinox TV, can use for their reporters to report breaking news. There'll be SOPs. There are SOPs for anchors when they're anchoring programs, for example. That requires not only the competence of a journalist, but specific understanding on, I don't know, communication, interpersonal relationship. I would say the background of the person doesn't matter. What's of essence is the soft skills that you require to deliver effectively the concept, because SOPs themselves cut across every industry and every sector of the economy.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much. Good. Any question from the class? Raise up your hand as tradition demands, and I will.
Please, I have a question.
Yes, Boris, go ahead.
Yes, Boris.
Boris, are you there? Network, I guess.
Probably.
While Boris is trying to connect, anybody else? Anybody else with a question?
Okay, yes, my question goes thus.
Yes.
Startups nowadays, apart from even coming out with your ideas and everything, there's this real problem of capital. So,
Boris, I think your network, your connection isn't good. Jared, can you hear him? Oh, it's from my end.
I cannot hear him. Boris, can you type your question if your network is so bad?
That would also be possible.
Oops.
Nowadays, giving even a job, giving a job description to hired employees is difficult. It's very difficult because they somehow want more from you than they can actually describe in a job description. So my question is, bringing in again standard procedure at the initial stage of your business, is it really good?
So your question again, first, your worry is that let me know if I got you correctly. Your worry is that usually when you get a new employee, giving them a job description is difficult. Is that what you said?
I said it's even difficult. It's most difficult because you cannot spell out like directly the span of the scope of which of what you really expect from them, because after they have bought your vision, you expect this flow from them as the initial employees of the stuff. Now coming out again with a standard procedure, is it not like is it really a good idea at the very beginning of your business?
Oh, thank you, Boris, for the question. But let me just be very frank with you. If you, as a vision bearer, let me put it that way, if you are unable to determine what the employees you are bringing on board should be doing, you shouldn't bring them on board at all. If you are not able to determine who you are hiring or calling in to join your business, do not bring them on board. You know why? Because this tardiness will be the ingredients with which you are using, the ingredients you are using to destroy that business. That's why if you start up a business and you are not sure yet of what you want to do, stay back, think through it, or meet a business development consultant or whatever. Discuss the business with them, and they will together, through the development of a business model canvas or business plan or whatever options you arrive at, elaborate this vision for you. Part of the work of a business development consultant or service assistant is also to help you understand what operations are inherent in your business, what products or services you'll be offering, who you'll be selling to, for example, and what income streams you expect. Also, you'll be able to understand who you need in your business and what exactly they should be doing. Nobody should be joining your business if you are not sure of what they're coming to do. Please do not. Even if it's your spouse or children or parents, they should not hang around the business place if they do not have a clear responsibility. That's one. And if you're finding difficulties developing a job description, it may be possible, even if you haven't realized yet, it may be possible that you have not completely understood what you should be doing in that business. Because when you do, let me tell you, for example, if I open a restaurant right now, or let me just ask you, if you open a restaurant, who do you want to hire first? Give me five staff, 5 employees you want to hire in a restaurant. Consider it's a classy restaurant somewhere in Aqua. Who are those you want to hire first?
Okay, first I'll hire a good chef, a good they call them waiters.
Waiters, yes, waitress.
A good cashier/accountant to set 5, right?
Yes.
Yes, I'll hire a good stock manager.
Correct.
Yes, and I'll hire a supervisor. No, before you go ahead, yes. I'm saying that you actually have the SOPs, but you don't want to expose it to them because it will, it will make them more conscious of what they want to do, they have to do, and that in itself will somehow frustrate them. The motivation that comes along with what they have to do is not equal. But so you don't just want to expose those things to them because you know what it will cost you somehow as a startup.
All right, this is it, Boris. Now I get your fear. You are like the guy who comes up with a very brilliant idea on how to produce biocosmetics, and then he goes out there and preaches the concept, and a lot of people like it, and even starts getting orders. And now he needs people to invest in the business, and then a potential investor or a key staff who is maybe who graduated from the processing school in Gaoundere to come and work as the lead technologist, and another investor who wants to bring in some money to standardize the business and raise it to a certain standard. And they ask him to pitch the business to both the staff and the potential investor. And then you are at daggers drawn as to whether you should come all out or whether you should hide some secrets with you. Boris, your dilemma is not unique. A lot of people have come to that point. You have to get to the point where you can communicate your business objectives, roles of staff, and your income streams and products and clients as clearly as possible without jeopardizing what it is that you have as maybe the ingredient that is in Guinness, that out of Guinness was passing down one person after the other per generation. You have to get to the point where you define your unique value proposition in your business so clearly, so sweet, that does not jeopardize the existence and survivability of that business. But rest assured, if you're not able to completely convey the key information to your key stakeholders, you will keep the secret to yourself. You keep that information to yourself, your business will go nowhere. And just to answer whether it's important to introduce SOPs in the early stage of your business, of course, yes. That is when you should introduce them, because it sets the basis, is the foundation on which the operations will be based on. Once you start that, once every employee understands that, every subsequent employee just follows through. And you could have all the help you need with understanding your vision and elaborating it. If you cannot communicate it adequately to the point where the employees know exactly what they are doing, you are doing that business alone. They may be coming to work and spending 8 hours a day or even more. They are not helping you grow the vision. You will have to communicate with them exactly what you are doing, exactly how you are doing it, exactly how you think they will fit in, and they should be able to communicate with you their prospects, their perspectives, their challenges, and their fears, so that together they get a buy-in into this vision, and you are able to deliver beyond even your expectations. Because like I said, the vision, the resources, and the team to deliver that vision are what you require with the right attitude and the right commitment. So yes, you have to develop the job descriptions as detailed as possible. Yes, you have to develop the SOPs as detailed as possible. But let me encourage you here. If your business, for example, is to produce and distribute products, like the example I took with biocosmetics, and you are wary that if you through the standard operating procedures expose, for example, your formula, the formula you use to arrive at the kind of product that customers are rushing, you are afraid that whoever you hire as the lead technician may use that formula and go and create another business on their own. There are many ways you can handle that. And I'm sure that you may have had this kind of experience or exposure with Joybert. Of course, I know his mastery in such issues. There is patency. You may ask for a non-disclosure agreement from the key staff that you're exposing to your trade secrets, number one. Number two, you may be able to only share that information with variously with people based on the responsibilities they are holding. But trust me, if you give an employee responsibility for a particular task and you hold back the ingredients they require to execute that task, in a nutshell, you're saying that you want your business to fail. You must walk around those and give them the jobs and give them the ingredients they need to do those jobs right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Good. Another question? Okay. I think there's no other question. We have we are within time. And thank you so much, Leslie, for detailing breaking this down. SOPs are not, it's not always so easy. And this material I have shared today is very powerful. And I'm sure that others will definitely benefit from it. And if there are further questions, I would definitely connect them to you. And so you guys can also keep in touch. We strongly always encourage our participants to stay in touch with professionals like you that come around. Thank you again so much for serving us with your time, experience, and skills. We really appreciate. All right, any feedback from the class, from anybody in the class, and we can close. General feedback. Maurice, Honorine.
Well, I don't know. If there are no other questions, then I would like to thank Mr. Leslie on behalf of every executive in here for your time, for the knowledge, and most especially for exposing us to this wonderful business. I can call it. It's a wonderful business factor element that is indispensable. So we thank you very much for giving us what you have delivered today, and we wish you the very best in everything you do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and have a good night, everybody.
All right. Thank you. Good night.